republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for April 6, 2008. Could I have a roll call, please?
Bernard Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood.
Present.
Sheila Brockway. Here. Gerard Renedick.
Here.
Martin Mannix.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Resolution 09122.
Resolved that the minutes of March 16th and March 23rd, 2009 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renedick, any discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renedick.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, this is the portion of our meeting where we ask if anyone would like to address the board to do so. Please state their name, their address, and limiting their comments to 5 minutes. And when there is no one, we move on.
I would at this point make a motion that we move into executive session to discuss the employment history of particular persons, plural, and also matters relating to promotion, appointment, and employment.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renedick.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, we'll stand adjourned at 6:32 for the executive session. You might want to bring
So move.
Mr.
Second.
Wood, second, Mr. Mannix. Any discussion? A roll call vote?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renedick.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes, we'll come out of executive session at 6:48 p.m. and move on with resolution 1.
Bernie, I think it would be appropriate to say when we come out of executive session that there was no action taken in executive session.
Yep, there was no action taken, just discussed as per the motion. Resolution 123.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims number 4A in the amount of $1,153,097.56 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisors hereby authorized to pay said abstracts.
The motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renedick, second.
Second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion? I have begun to see some of the reports that the new software can do, and I'm in anticipation that you'll see quite a difference between this document, which has all the information, but the readability, it'll be much more, a much better summary, even in presence, where this really looks like an old dot matrix kind of document. You'll see quite a difference, I think. And they've been working all last week, including today, on the transition and identifying where the snags are, and it continues to move forward. So we'll look for that in this next report meeting. Anyone have anything else? Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Renedick.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 124.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Stephen Einhoff, Codes Enforcement Officer for the month of April 2009.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renedick. Discussion. We do have Mr. Einhoff here this evening. If anyone has any questions?
I was excited to see a solar array going up, but now I see that it's the company itself that's building it.
We're getting quite a few, actually. There's a lot of tax credits coming right back. So Triangle Electric and KCI are really pushing and going out and giving people quotes for solar. We're seeing a push because it's bringing the price down, the tax credits.
You answered my question, sir. I was going to ask whether or not it was a tax credit incentive, rebates. What's the financial short-term motivation?
It's the push to bring these things were out of sight, the payback that you really have to be environmental friendly to want to be able to take, because the money for a typical home is $25,000 for one of these systems. Now you get a $7,000 near state rebate, and then there's an environmental green rebate for another $2,500. There's like 3 or 4 different rebates if you qualify, if you're in a different tax bracket. It's bringing them down to $13,000, $14,000 per single family home. Now you take that over, they have a life expectancy over 20 years. It's a little more feasible for people to put them in their homes, you know, depending on their usage, what they are, day rate, night rates, and then how much roof area you have, because the more roof area, the more these you put on, they're less apt to get damaged. If there's some that you see that are going on the ground, you get more lawnmowers, trees, and other things, and once you break one of the boards, you get expensive. So the technology's coming down, and the price, you know, is a little closer, so people are taking a lot closer look at it.
The other thing, just in general, again, and you know, for the record, to note that we continue to have a number of permits being issued, which, given the economic climate, I think that's a good thing. I know I had shared with everyone before comments that Steve had made from their training session where many municipalities had no activity going on. So it was very complimentary. And I did send everyone an email late this afternoon, breaking news. We did receive the wire of the last amount from the Restore grant, which will add about 10 hours a week to my work life and a few hairs on the top of my head, maybe.
Wonderful.
We certainly have, it's a difficult process, and I have to say we called on you know, support to help move that along. I was hoping within the next couple of weeks, but it was actually wired to us at the end of the day Friday, so that's very exciting. I've spoken with Mr. Edelman, and they have been preparing to the extent they could. We'll see the demolition of that strip mall very soon. Genuinely, I'm like a broken record. We've seen too many opportunities come and go with the comment of, you know, give me a call when you're really ready. And we're really ready now, so I hope we'll bring some of those folks back, and I know we will. I've asked him to give us a date when that actually takes place so we can make that more publicly known, because I think we'll see that as another closure of another chapter of development out there, jobs, building tax base, and so on. Special district fees that we will all benefit, regionally will benefit. So it's really very exciting to see that come down, and well, there'll be some other things also, some other upgrades and activities going on. It's very nice we have an area like that, a lot of smaller projects going. The Clinton County Airport, I know Marty and Tom especially with the Comprehensive Land Use Planning Committee are excited about that, to have not only the small scale but very large scale projects. So I suspect our planning, we have some good news this evening relative to planning, and our codes are going to see their level of activity increase. And then, of course, as soon as they're done, water, sewer, highway follow right behind, and everybody clerical. So this is good that we all can stay busy and on task. But that's some exciting news anyway. We'll have some closure on that one. At some point, I don't think I want to do it this evening unless you would like to, Steve. We want to talk about the issues we've been discussing, maybe in a work session, get that scheduled. There are some challenges you know, that we're soon facing as a result of growth, and Steve will bring that to the board in the work session soon. Anyone have any other comments? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway. Yes. George Benedict.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 125.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Phil Von Bargen, Planning and Engineering Department Head for the month of April 2009.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood. And we have Mr. Von Bargen here this evening as well, if anyone has any questions, comments.
Well, we just had a meeting with the Guard Committee, and we went through all the ins and outs of these particular projects. and seemingly the most difficult thing is usually dealing with the private roads, which I'm sure that Jerry remembers quite often we've had dealings with before.
I think in Mr. Von Bargen's world also, as we all know, there are things that are in motion. There's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of interest in the town of Plattsburgh that certainly will keep our planning very busy. And I'm glad this evening he's going to be presenting to the board a request to fill a vacancy. So if we can get this new young man, if the board approves his appointment, up to speed rapidly. And probably what is the most exciting town in upstate New York. Plug. You don't pay me for that commercial.
That's what I was thinking.
Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway,
Yeah.
Gerard Brennan.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
So you paid with it a few less hairs, is that what it was?
Yes, not to you, but yes to the vote. Resolution 126.
Resolved to receive a report from Amy Duquette, Town Clerk, for the month of March 2009.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Ms. Brockway.
Second.
Second that, Mr. Wood. And we have Ms. Duquette here this evening. If there are any questions for her.
She's busy too.
There's,
It's very specific, you can tell everything that she's doing, so.
and I know we've said it, I often forget if it was in these tape sessions or in a work session, but the reporting come to the board, the reports coming to the board are, you're right, Tom, very specific, very focused. Really helps us to know what's going on, and I feel good just in the last few months that I'm getting more detail. Very helpful. Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Brennan.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Linda Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 127.
Whereas the town clerk has received a renewal application for fees for a license to operate a junkyard business from Ed Champagne, 271 Ruger Street. And whereas Steve Imhoff, Code Enforcement Officer, has completed inspection of the junkyard and has recommended that the applicant is in compliance. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh does hereby receive and place on file said application and authorize the town clerk to issue a junkyard license for the aforementioned applicant.
A motion?
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette. Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Brennan.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 128.
Whereas the town clerk has received renewal application and fees for a license to operate a junkyard business from Richard Robbins and Ed Champagne Jr. at 225 River Street. And whereas Steve Imhoff, Code Enforcement Officer, has completed inspection of the junkyard and has recommended that the applicant is in compliance. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh does hereby receive and place on file said application and authorize the town clerk to issue a junkyard license to the aforementioned applicant in compliance.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Ms. Brockway. Any discussion?
The repair of the fence, it says it's supposed to be done upon removal of existing tenants. Do we have any idea how long that's supposed to be?
That was it when we discussed in the last work board session to make those comments, and I can take the comments to Mr. Champagne. The fence has not been repaired as of today. He was an eviction process. I don't know what the eviction process was with those tenants. So if you want to make a recommendation, the fence goes up like Mr. Renadette mentioned in the work board session, I have no problem saying approved. And don't forget, you have to make sure that this fence is fixed back up there for the visual looking in, even though it's not being used now, but it has to be up to, that's one of the things, the screening.
I know from personal experience, sometimes the eviction process can take a while. I'm glad to see that he is moving forward, and bearing in mind, let him know that the board is concerned that the fence is going to be repaired. And I'm personally willing to wait, let the legal system take its course. I mean, sometimes evictions can take several months. So as long as he's moving forward, I'm satisfied.
I agree with Jerry.
Any other discussion? So then maybe what the message back would be that the board is concerned about the repair of the fence, that it be done as quickly as possible during the eviction or immediately after. Okay? Roll call?
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Rendick?
Yes.
Martin Lennox?
Yes.
Larry Bud?
Yes. Resolution 129.
Whereas after due consideration, the town board has determined that it is desirable and in the public interest to submit an application to Empire State Development Corporation for a round-free Restore New York Communities Initiative Municipal Grant Program. And whereas the proposed project is in accordance with town and regional planning objectives. And whereas the proposed financing is appropriate for the specific project. And whereas the proposed project facilitates effective and efficient use of existing and future public resources so as to promote both the economic development and preservation of the community resources. And whereas, where applicable, the project develops and enhances infrastructure and/or facilities in a manner that will attract, create, and sustain employment opportunities. Whereas the town board has authorized and directed the supervisor to submit an application for financial assistance under Round 3 Restore New York Communities Initiative Municipal Grant Program. And whereas it is desirable to conduct and hold a public hearing pursuant to the project. Now therefore be it resolved that members of the town board of the town of Plattsburgh do find that the proposed project is consistent with the town's master plan, and the proposed financing is appropriate for the project, and the project facilitates effective and efficient use of existing and future public resources so as to promote both economic development and preservation of community resources, and project develops, enhances infrastructure and other facilities in a manner that will attract, create, sustain employment opportunities. And it be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to publish a notice of public hearing to be held on April 20, 2009 at 6:20 p.m. at the town hall to provide an opportunity to provide comment on the property listed on the property assessment list that are in need of demolition, deconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconstruction.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
That was a three-way race. Mr. Mannix, second Mr. Wood.
There you go.
Any discussion?
This is one we reimbursed on, right?
Actually, reimbursed isn't even the right word. This is the one that the developer is going to be paying for the writing of the grant right up front. As you recall, as we were getting near the wire for submittal, my recommendation to the board was that I was a little uncomfortable putting our nickel into it. Good project, great possibilities. The developer stepped forward, and the money will work just as the earlier one did. Now, I would ask you also, or remind you also, that with this final disbursement on the Restore, the cost to the town of writing the grant will be reimbursed to our research fund. So, you know, it's a pretty good deal. And with this last one, of course, the community saved a great deal as a result of the way we will be tying Moffett Road in. So it was an absolute win all the way around. The second one, the biggest difference is simply the paying for the grant writing, but the administration and management of it will be done the same way.
Not to bite the hand that feeds us, so to speak, but if we get this round of grant money and another project comes along from a different developer, are we in any way obligated?
It's too late to apply until next year if the state budget even were to include a round 4. Submittals had to be in.
But I mean, if this grant's already been paid for, correct? It's already been submitted?
The one that's in front of you?
Yes.
Yes. Preliminary proposal, yes.
Then I guess my question would be, if we were to get $2 million for a Restore New York grant to be used, do we have to give it to this developer because he
Yes.
paid for the grant?
Yeah, well, the grant money is for the particular project that you were doing the submittal.
Okay.
It's not a grant with a broad stroke of how to use it.
Okay.
It's very specific to the
I know
proposal.
that there's wind that there might be other things coming, and I didn't know
Yes.
if we were specific on
Yes.
this one
Yes.
project. So we are
Yeah,
specific.
Absolutely. All right. Absolutely.
And again, I have no objection to it. I mean, the developer put up the money, but I was just wondering if we were specific and.
Yeah, and I think that the grants have to be outlined as to what it's going to be for, what specific project when the application goes in. So if we didn't have that, we wouldn't be applying for anything.
Right. That was one of my concerns, that the project would be able to be defined specific enough for funding. ESD is, having been through one round, they're not just giving money to a community to do a worthy project. You sell the project first. And of course, jobs and economic growth development is a big part of it. So I guess the summary is no.
Well, we took a long time answering that one, didn't we?
I would also underscore, if this is approved, that the public hearing, remind everyone the public hearing begins at 6:20, just prior to our regular meeting. And the draft of the notice is included in your documentation.
I know that-
Everyone's familiar with what this is for, right?
Yeah, but I know that the purpose of the grant program, is to rehabilitate commercial areas within the town. But the thing I'm excited about with this particular project is the potential for employment that will come from this.
It also really begins to develop a theme. It begins to develop a concept that we are a destination now because of similar types of entertainment, recreational activities, and that will drive the theme of the rest of the development, the restaurants, the retail, and whatnot that will follow. So it really becomes a nice mix. I know Mr. Elman had some conversations today with some folks about the indoor tennis, and it was noted the impact that would have for the hospital, CBPH, to attract and retain physicians.
Yep.
So many people ask that question, well, if we go, what do we do? If we stay, what is there? And it really begins to round out a lot of exciting things that we're doing. And I also ask you to recall the report done by the young professionals using the Technical Assistance Center, that the survey of young professionals really underscored the value of the cultural, the arts, the social, the recreational. So it's a building block, and many times that block happens after. We might have really struck something with getting that block in early. That really makes this community shine.
And then you have the Vista Park over on the lake, and we really have along the Saranac River.
You got my attention. That's the Crab Island. We hopefully in a work session soon we'll have some updates on that. And again, I guess just thinking in a very general way, it makes them to work every day, knowing we're also not only very fiscally conscious, but we're trying to grow and develop and create a quality community during these difficult times. And so far, it's working for us. A roll call, please.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Renegade?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Ray Bassett?
Yes. Resolution 130.
Whereas the town board passed resolution 09118 to appoint Paul Wright to the position of Assistant Water and Wastewater Superintendent with a salary to be determined. Therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh appoint Mr. Paul Wright as Assistant Water and Wastewater Superintendent effective March 18, 2009, pending civil service approval at an annual salary as per the negotiated agreement for the said position at step 9 for 2009, retroactive to the date of his appointment for the probationary period of 6 months, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer and civil service.
So
Have a motion, Mr. Wood, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway. Any discussion? I would note, and maybe for the record, we should amend the resolve, the first line that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh, it's a temporary appointment, and I'm trying to salvage the language here to say appoint temporarily or temporarily appoint, and it's kind of irrelevant. But until the position is permanently vacated after April 30, it really is a temporary appointment, then it's a permanent appointment. And I'm not positive of all the civil service ramifications, but I would suspect that any probationary period would begin after the permanent appointment. So the final tweaking of how all this works will be driven by civil service regulation and so on. But I just want to make that clear, and I don't know, at least in the minutes, Amy, maybe we can note that this is a temporary, I don't even know if provisional is the right legal word, pending the permanent vacancy that should, we anticipate taking place after April 30. And then it would be a permanent appointment at that point. And we'll see a similar thing with another appointment in a few minutes. We just need to get a little clarity. But as always, and in my mind, certainly we all know that everything is subject to civil service and whatever they want us to do. Any discussion? Any other discussion?
I'd just like to add a comment that I think it's important for people to understand that this appointment, or excuse me, the part of the resolution that deals with his compensation, that compensation has been arrived at and consistent with the manner in which other appointments and promotions were made, and it's consistent with the labor negotiated agreement that that we have in place, and that we're honored to abide by.
Anyone have any other comments? Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
George Rendick?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Porter Johnson?
Yes. Resolution 131.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh's Park and Recreation Department has continued to grow, creating a need to review the Parks and Recreation Department's organizational structure. And whereas Resolution 09117 acknowledged the need for restructuring of the department, leaving the position of Senior Building Maintenance Worker vacant. And whereas Melanie DeByatt, Town Recreation and Youth Director, has submitted a letter recommending to the Town Board that Shelby Wright, Building Maintenance Worker, be promoted to Senior Building Maintenance Worker in the Parks and Recreation Department as permanent contingent on Mr. Gross completing civil service requirements. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Plattsburgh appoint Mr. Shelby Wright as Senior Building Maintenance Worker, effective immediately, as step 1 of the 2009 Senior Building Maintenance Salary Schedule, as per negotiated.
So
Agreement with a probationary period of 6 months, and to be further resolved that said appointment be provisional, preventing Mr. Wright successfully passing the civil service test when given. And a copy of this resolution be given to the Budget Office and Melanie DeByatt, Town Recreation and Youth Director.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second Mr. Mannix. Any discussion? And again, this one was a little clearer that this appointment is going to be contingent upon Mr. Burrow's promotion and his becoming permanent. Then after that, this will become permanent, and then the 6-month probationary period, I believe, will begin, or according to whatever civil service tells us how it's supposed to go, and after they do the approvals. We often have the discussion of, does civil service approve first, or does the board approve first? It's a chicken or an egg. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no need to go to civil service if the board isn't interested in the action. If the board is, then we begin the process.
Question. At the end of the second resolution, we asked that a copy be given to the budget officer and a copy to Melanie DeByatt. Do we
Yes.
also need to send a copy to civil service?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would make the same comment that I made before, that this is being handled in the exact same fashion that we've used, that we've approached filling other positions and other promotions.
And I just want to commend Melanie for the hard work she did to come up with the criteria she had for both of these types.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you, Stuart, for mentioning that. It really was good to begin to put down job descriptions and expectations. Obviously, they need to be a bit fluid, and I think you always at the end have other as needed, but it really helps to define some expectations. And we've always made a point that these departments also are to be sharing staff and materials. I mean, everybody works for the town, and wherever help is needed by whoever is qualified, able, they should help. We would like them to be willing, but they should help. So thank you for bringing that up. It isn't a divorce, it's just a more efficient way of doing things. Any other questions? And we will amend that to include a copy given to civil service. I've just made a note that the probationary period would begin after the permanent appointment, and this only can become permanent after Mr. Burrow's permanent. It's just a series of dominoes. And however else we need to amend to meet civil service needs. Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Rennick?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Lori Bassett?
Yes. One more, Resolution 132.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has had a vacancy in the planning department for several months, and whereas a search was conducted to identify interested candidates and interviews for the aforementioned position were held, and whereas the interview committee has made recommendation for the selection of an appointee to the aforementioned position as indicated by the attached letter of recommendations, and whereas Mr. James Bosley has been recommended by the committee to fill the vacant position in the planning department as planning technician. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh appoint Mr. James Bosley as planning technician effective April 13, 2009, as step 1 of the 2009 planning technician pay scale with a salary of $16.36 per hour for a probationary period of 6 months from the date of appointment, and to be further resolved that this appointment is provisional pending Mr. Bosley's successful completion of the required civil service exam when offered. And it is further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign all necessary documents to hire Mr. Bosley, and that a certified copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer and the Clinton County Department of Personnel for Civil Service for their final approval and filing.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? We do have Mr. Bosley here this evening. If anyone would like to ask him any last hard interview questions.
Yeah, why is it that he's waiting till the 13th to start? Today's the 6th, that's a week we could have.
I'm sorry, I'm fulfilling prior obligations, I am Fusin.
Oh, okay.
Which implies you're an honorable man.
Which is good. This is good.
Great. And you would note that this probationary period would begin with his appointment because there's no series of little dominoes that have to fall over and other criteria in this case. Mr. Von Bargen, I don't know if you wanted to make comment on your appointee.
I share James's enthusiasm for him coming on board. Look forward, I think he's going to be an asset for the town.
Very good.
And we'll work with all the other departments. Take us where we need to be going on some of the more technical things relative to GIS and computer.
It was a bit of an upgrade of the position, as everyone knows, and I hope it does reflect a direction we're going and better preparing for the future and to meet future needs.
Just a general question. I assume that we've gone through the normal procedure, background, and all that we were required to do, like do for all the other employees.
The background sheet's been submitted, so that's the normal path. I don't think that I don't think we've got the result back yet.
As long as we get it before 6 months, then it's all fine, right?
No, I think it's before he comes on board.
Before he goes on board.
Yes.
I was, yes.
It's taking them a long time because it's hard to find.
Good answer.
There.
Good answer.
We understand that they really like to have the ones that are challenging and that are, really draw out, more excitement. These routine ones where, there's nothing there, it's no fun for them.
No fun at all. Well, very good. I'm sure everything will be fine and be in order. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Rennick?
Yes.
Martin Mannix?
Yes.
Lori Bassett?
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yes, indeed.
We'll be back there pestering you next week, don't worry.
Resolution 133.
Whereas the town board of the town of Plattsburgh desires to stimulate local development and foster future economic growth within the municipality, and whereas the town of Plattsburgh has been experiencing significant growth and development requiring careful planning and management with guidance that is best served by a comprehensive master plan as well as a clearly defined ordinances. Whereas the town's existing comprehensive use land plan comprehensive land use plan, today, was authorized in 1999 and is now in need of review and revision. Whereas a committee known as the Comprehensive Land Use Planning Committee, composed of residents and board members, was instituted by the supervisor to assist in the planning process. Whereas a grant will be managed by the consulting firm for strategic planning and technical assistance was successfully awarded to help meet CLUP needs. And whereas the Comprehensive Land Use Planning Committee has conducted interviews to retain a consulting firm to further study and update the development of the new master plan for the town of Plattsburgh, and Mr. Von Bargen, Planning Department Head, has submitted a letter in support of the selection of the Shazen Group. And whereas the CLUP supports said recommendation that Shazen Group of Glen Falls be authorized to prepare and manage the aforesaid project and all other plans and documents that are required to complete the project with a budget of $75,000 and additional expenses, preliminary printing as needed, an estimated 10% of the project cost for a total estimated fee of $82,500, and additional committee or public meetings if required over those outlined in the scope at an additional fee of $1,000 per meeting, inclusive of preparation and follow-up time. And it be further resolved that the town attorney has reviewed this agreement, and upon approval, the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to enter into a contract for services as indicated. And it is further resolved that the Shazen Group will also be considered to support the town's rezoning process, and if awarded the project, will do so for the sum of no more than $20,000. And it is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Shazen Group, the CLUPC, and Town Planning and Accounting Departments.
For the motion?
So moved.
Mr. Brockway, second. Mr. Mannix, any discussion? I know we've all discussed this in a work session at a presentation last week. Mr. Von Bargen has compiled a letter reflecting his views as well as a bit about the process. It was a lengthy process, as Mr. Mannix and Mr. Wood are very well aware. And I think the word grueling comes to mind. I don't know if that's the right word, but it certainly was a very effective process to try and identify the firm for that committee.
There was a lot of time spent. I would not describe it as grueling only because I think people on the committee have really enjoyed the work they've been doing, and I think they're extremely happy with the resolution of their deliberations and the fact that, you know, this firm emerged as the number one firm out of those that they looked at. And then, lo and behold, not only were they, you know, as it played out, not only were they the number one firm, but from a cost standpoint, you know, they came in within the budget. In fact, if anything, maybe a little bit lower than what we had anticipated the budget to be. Please don't put that down.
I think the grueling part.
They'll think they should have got more.
We don't want that to go to them.
But we're, you know, I can tell you as a member of the committee, I think the committee is excited about, you know, heading into the next phase, which is working with these people, because I think they're going to bring up, you know, a raft of fresh ideas.
I really, and I did mean the grueling part really for the firms that submitted. A couple of the submittals that I saw were really quite detailed, reflected a great deal of work. And then to present themselves to this group that did not take lightly the screening process. But you know, I think we're going to be in good shape. And I also tried to, back on the lengthy whereas, defining the financial pieces, especially with the printing. We've got that sort of carved out of there. We might be able to keep that to a minimum by using some local resources and keeping some of those funds in the community too. But it is probably, you always, you know, it's like having 9 children and saying this one's, you know, smarter, cuter, taller, nicer. You just can't win. But this process sure is one of the most important that this town is undertaking at this time, because it will clearly mold and define where we're going, what it will look like, who will be in the town living and working, and so on. So it really is quite a task, and I look forward to it being done. And I don't know that there's going to be an end. I think this is going to trigger a lot of other future activities. But the timing is just perfect, as you know, some of us have been in some different committees and meetings. There's, I think, the time for another period of significant growth is right in front of us. So there couldn't be a better time to write a new master plan or greater need. So, job well done, Phil. I congratulate you as a leader of that group. And you put a lot of time in that. I think, Phil, it's like owning a 65 Mustang convertible. It's really is something he likes to get out there and polish and do. But what he's done through these last months, shorthanded as and work for this committee, it's been a good job. So
Now that I have an assistant and we've got a consultant, can I take vacation?
No vacation,
not
sorry.
next week.
Feel free to take Saturday and Sunday off.
Thank you, so
At
generous.
least this week.
Yeah, keep your bike trips close to home. Okay, any other discussion? Seriously, job well done, and I'm sure it's all going to go very well. Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Browfoy.
Yes.
Gerard Rennick.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Roger Bassett.
Yes.
I know this is after the fact, Barney, and I should have brought it up. Just listening to you talk was interesting and everything, but in the fourth whereas, said that the Comprehensive Land Use Planning Committee was instituted by the supervisor. I don't believe that you appointed every member.
I was talking about, in this whereas it's talking about the concept of the CLUP. And that came out of some discussion Phil and I had where he was kind of prodding, we need to get going, so we created the concept of the committee, not, I'm not talking about appointing.
Well, I just want to make it clear that you weren't, you left that.
Are you going to give me credit for all that?
The board.
Well, I'll give you credit for some things, but you know.
The board appointed everybody who's on
If
it.
we want to be technical, right? So that's talking about the whole CLUP. You know, where's the CLUP? Where did that come from? 134.
Whereas the Town of Plattsburgh Planning Board has reviewed and approved all requirements of Gerner Site Plan 2008. And whereas Gerner Site Plan 2008 has on file with the Town of Plattsburgh a deposit for construction to their project in the original amount of $1,200 plus accrued interest. And whereas the Planning Department has coordinated inspection of said project and reports that all requirements have been met and completed. And whereas the project has requested that the deposit in the amount of $1,200 plus accrued interest be returned. Therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to release said deposit in the amount of $1,200 plus accrued interest to date. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be forwarded by the Planning Department Secretary with the return deposit to Tom Gerner, Hammond Lane, Plattsburgh, New York.
Motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Rennick.
Yes.
Martin Mannix.
Yes.
Roger Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 135.
Whereas Highway Superintendent Fred Levine and Philip Von Bargen, Planning Department Head, have entered into discussion with Mr. Bruce Dedman, CEO of the Plattsburgh Air Base Redevelopment Corporation, concerning the condition of a town road, Willow Drive, and the need for improvements on said road. And whereas both parties agree that it is important to the continued development of park property adjacent to Willow Drive that improvements as indicated by the attached agreement should be made, and Park has also indicated their intention to participate in said road improvements, as indicated in Section 2, subparagraph 2 of the attached MOA. And whereas the town has required Park to develop a mitigation plan to address the protection of the pitch pine tree population on parcel 93A, and said concern has been resolved as indicated by the proposed MOA, and by the participation of Champlain Valley Educational Services, CV Tech Division, that shall maintain the existing pitch pine population. Now therefore be it resolved that after review by the Planning and Highway Departments and the Town Attorney, the Town of Plattsburgh Supervisor is authorized to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the Plattsburgh Air Base Redevelopment Corporation for improvements on Willow Drive, a road in the Town of Plattsburgh as indicated in the attached MOA.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second, Mr. Mannix.
That's fine.
And any discussion?
Yeah, in section 2, number 3, conveyance parcel 96. Says that at the beginning, be an access easement. This is down at the bottom. Until such time as the proposed extension is dedicated to the town of Plattsburgh for use as a public right-of-way, at which time said easement shall automatically terminate. I'm going to assume that at that point, we still have enough property on either side to put any water, sewer, or any other things that we have to put in there. Is that correct?
Correct, you do. It would be, this is a normal right-of-way of which, within that right-of-way, you'd be able to install those.
And then I notice it says that we're working jointly to construct this extension to the road, the Willow Drive, the park. Park's going to provide materials and pay for asphalt. That's going to be paid for prior to our putting it down?
They don't get it delivered as a result of paying for it, it won't go down.
We're going to use our equipment and our manpower to do that.
And then, I'm sorry.
I had an issue on number 9 where they talk about the covenant and basically indicate that if CVES were to cease to utilize the property for educational purposes, that there would be a transfer under a right of reacquisition to the county of Clinton. I'd like to ask that we pose the question of Park as to whether or not the town of Plattsburgh could have a right of first refusal as far as the acquisition of that property is concerned.
Mr. Mannix, Mike, I mean,
Sure.
I did give Bruce Edmond a call in between our meeting this afternoon, and what he indicated to me was that the negotiations of how they've set this up, and they've been working with with the county, which we haven't really been part of, that the agreement has already been shaped between Park and the county to acquire that should it revert to other than to CVES. So I did inquire and I did ask that.
Well, we were not included in negotiations and we have to pass this, so I want this as part of a condition that we have the right of first refusal on this particular property.
Well, I'd have trouble going along with that. I think that they have entered into a long-term negotiation. I think the important thing that I see within this memorandum of agreement is the fact that the reservation of the use of the property for conservation purposes goes with the land, so that you don't have to worry about it ending up coming back to the county and turning around and they sell it for an industrial lot. I wish we'd been party to that negotiation also, but we haven't been, and we've got a situation where there's 2 tenants who are in the wing, ready to go. Park themselves have their own problems in terms of moving property and going forward as in Clinton County does. And I just think that that opportunity has kind of passed us by. And I have trouble holding up all these other entities because we would have rather have had. I think I brought it up to Phil in a meeting, and Phil posed it, and I even commented in the meeting that, well, if we don't ask the question, we don't know the answer, but we could at least ask.
Well, in my opinion, we're letting the county get away with these things and the park, and they don't negotiate with us, and it's time to start setting down that they have to listen to us and they have to talk with us when they negotiate. And as far as I'm concerned, we should have the right of first refusal on this. And so I would propose that be part of this particular amendment if we're going to vote in affirmative.
As the, I guess you made the motion.
No,
Well, we don't have a motion, we have a motion to vote on the resolution as
Right,
it exists.
and
That's what I'm saying. Who made the resolution?
The motion is
I
Mr.
moved the
Renadette?
Yeah,
resolution.
that's what I thought.
And I'm, with all due respect to Mr. Wood, I agree with you that the town of Plattsburgh has in the past been treated as a second-class citizen with a lot of development that's gone on, within our municipal boundaries, and it would be nice if we were included and put in the front line as far as some of this negotiations, but I think it's unfair in the 11th hour. I think we're almost at 11:45 on this, to say that we're not going to move forward because we think that there ought to be a stipulation put on this. I think your comments are well taken, and I think those comments will be directed to Park and to the county to let them know that we want to be included. But I think it's unfair for us to change this, and I'm not in favor of changing anything in this resolution at this time.
Well, I consider it not nice that they include us. I think that should be automatic that they include us whenever it deals with our property and it deals with the things that we have an interest in. And I, for one, am not willing to sit back and let them run roughshod over us in terms of these kinds of things. If they want to deal with us on these issues, then they should negotiate with us and talk with us. And the only reason we get these at the last minute. We get these at, you say, 11th hour, but that's when we get them. They don't. They do it all, and then they give it to us at the 11th hour.
We've had this prior to this evening. Phil, did you want to enlighten us a bit on that?
Yeah, I guess that, I bear some responsibility in terms of, to you specifically, Tom, making sure that this one item is caught in a timely fashion. And so as it's worked its way through a number of hands of review, that was not something that I anticipated either by policy or direction of the town board, and brought it to my attention. I inquired immediately as to whether it was feasible or not. Personally, now I can see in retrospect that kind of item maybe needs to be established, that those kinds of scenarios of water frontage opportunities that the town might be considered a party. That's about the best that I can do at this point. I wouldn't want to go to say that it's only just being brought to the town's attention, maybe perhaps more specifically to your attention. And I apologize for that, but sometimes these things, as they work their way through review, somebody may bring up a point that hasn't been brought up previously.
Phil, do you recall offhand roughly how many acres we're talking about in parcel 93 and parcel 96?
Well, 93 is about a 10-acre parcel, and that is the parcel that has the pitch pine population on it. And then this is 96, is the offsetting mitigation, and that's approximately 65 acres of land. And it does abut up against the Saranac River in an area that is relatively, was not utilized by the Air Force in any kind of development.
You said Saranac, did you mean to?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say the Salmon River. SA, I think. But yes, the 65 or so acres. And the intent that is going to be used for educational conservation purposes. They will enhance the habitat in that area for the offsetting mitigation for the pitch pond.
Let me ask, if I could, let me ask a question. While we're still in the middle of our comprehensive land use planning, and we'll be looking at rezoning, would it be feasible to consider that area as a conservation area for zoning, so that we can ensure that should the county revert to the county, we would have some say as to what kind of development goes on there?
I would think it would be no different than how we've identified state property in the town of Plattsburgh.
Yeah, well, every piece of property would be zoned a certain way,
Right.
and that would be an appropriate zoning.
That would address what Mr. Wood is concerned about, I'm sure, for any future development going on there. And it would give us, the board has that opportunity and that right, so we could address it in that sense, Tom.
Yes, it could. And I'm fully in support of this educational aspect to it. Although I realize that there's not as many of the pine on the 64 acres as there is on the 10 that we're mitigating with on the 60 acres. But as I understand it, they'll be able to continue to keep that growing there.
There is a restrictive covenant that will run with the land, as well, that it is to be only used for the educational conservation purposes.
I think Phil's, as a party to the negotiation, has really accomplished a great deal in what he sought to do. And in following through on, and I understand some of where Tom's coming from, we all deal with the frustration at times of not being at certain tables that we might wish to be at. But the reality is that this is property that is owned by an entity, and they have a right to market their property. What happened was there was an environmental issue that needed to be dealt with that Phil was aware of, and Phil was able to, you know, encourage them to make sure that they followed through on that. You know, and that's how all of this has transpired. And I think your suggestion, Jerry, is an excellent suggestion. I think you put all of those things together, we're going to achieve what we would have liked to have achieved here.
Exactly. And it is difficult. We are challenged with our existing staff, with our existing time, to participate in the number of opportunities that are out there, of negotiations that are out there. I've often said I feel very pleased that this council is very active. You are not part-time counselors in any form, shape, or manner. There are always some number of us at the events that we get an opportunity to participate and play a role in. But we do have, by design of our municipality and staff, limitations.
And we also, I mean, we were in a meeting today, and I'm sitting in the meeting today and listening to the presentation. I'm looking around the room, and I don't see anybody there from Dory Kurtz's operation. And you know, a major aspect of what they were talking about would deal with, you know, economic development. And I'm saying, why aren't they here? You know, and you know,
That was my
I
comment.
got a hunch they didn't get invited. Whether that was an oversight or what, I don't know. But I mean, these things happen all the time.
Sure, absolutely. And it's difficult. Again, I appreciate all of you, and you all know there are many things that I don't personally get involved, just can't be at everything. Spent most of my day today in meetings. The desk monster would appear too. But I do think, in summary, you know, I feel extremely comfortable with Phil's support of this. I think that idea with the you know, zoning, educational, environmental, or whatever's appropriate, really does address that very positively, and would encourage us to move the motion. And if there is no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Well, based on what Jerry said, I'll say yes.
Sheila Brockway.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Martin Maddox.
Yes.
Bernard Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 136.
Whereas Fred Levine, Highway Superintendent for the town of Plattsburgh, has received a request from Clinton County Highway Department in regards to turning over Archie Bordeaux Road to the town of Plattsburgh. And whereas Mr. Levine has submitted to the town board a letter dated March 12, 2009 in support of the county's request. And whereas a survey of the Archie Bordeaux Road was conducted in March of 2009 by Mr. Levine, who has indicated that the road is in very good shape. Therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby agrees to accept ownership of the Archie Bordeaux Road, adding .65 miles to the town of Plattsburgh road system. And to be further resolved that the town board hereby authorize the town supervisor to execute any necessary documents to accept said road, and that the town attorney is hereby authorized and directed to record said deed conveying the Archie Bordeaux Road to the town of Plattsburgh in the Clinton County Clerk's office.
Motion.
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix. Any discussion?
The only thing I would add is, I'm not certain they do this with deed anymore. I think they may do it by resolution. I'll check that out. If they do it by deed, obviously we'll get the deed recorded, or either that will get a copy of the resolution. But I think with the Cumberland Head Perimeter Road, I think that was done by resolution as opposed to.
But I think one of the things you want to do, you want to, if you can, is you want to be sure as to the dimensions of the right-of-way. You know, and that's why it's important. I think it's important that it is done by deed.
Well,
You can have a resolution that says you're going to do it and everything, but when you get all done with it, there ought to be a deed that goes with it.
Yeah, because there has been questioned in the past, you're absolutely right, Mr. Mannix said, there has been questioned in the past as to where property lines end, because in some cases, back in the days of old, the property line ended in the middle of the road. And we've run into problems before with extensions of utilities, fighting with property owners as to where their property line ended.
yeah, the old deeds do say that, but that's not recognized anymore. But I grant you, they do say the middle of the road. But
And I think that this is, we call it the Archie Bordeaux Road today, but I think it's really part of what was old Route 22. It came, you know, there was, and then when the Air Force Base went in, it got cut off and whatever. I don't know how wide that road was, you know? And I think we have a standard width for our right-of-ways, and we want to be sure we have that.
Well, we would get whatever the ownership of the county was, and I think that is probably determined by statute, so we would get whatever they have.
Well, this is just a formality, right? We can't refuse it.
My understanding is you cannot refuse it. I don't know that you want to, but I don't think you can.
So that would mean we can't give it back once the road is no longer in good shape.
Give it back and we get it paved, then we'll take it.
You can try.
I'm thinking all the time, Jerry.
Any other discussion? So Jim will check on that and let us know. If not, roll call, please.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brooklyn?
Yes.
Laura
Yes.
Petcher? Martin Maddox?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes. I've come to the last page. I don't know if anyone else has any other information, questions, concerns, or discussion this evening. And if not, I would remind you all that town offices are closed Friday this week. Good Friday, Easter weekend. And we'll be back with a work session on Monday. I will be out of town, but we'll have an agenda, and Ms. Brockway and I will discuss that.
Thursday?
She'll guide us through that, okay?
And we will have a
And I'm
quorum
on the
tomorrow
next-
night at the Relay for Life dinner at the
Yes.
Burgundy Room.
Yep.
This was getting out in time. The public would know they could come out there. We would wait on them.
Hand and foot.
Maybe Dan could let them know. Come on out. I mean,
Town of Plattsburgh, the
Is that a good thing to let them know, or a bad thing to let them know?
city councilors and the county legislature will all be helping in the Relay for Life fundraising activities, so it should be a good time.
It was fun last year, so it'll be fun this year.
Yes. We'll have a good time. Okay, well, with that said, if we could have a motion to adjourn this evening.
so
Wait, sure.
Mr. Renadette, do we have a second? Ms. Brockway, any discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brooklyn?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Martin Maddox?
Yes.
Bernard Bassett?
Yes, we'll stand adjourned at 7:47. Drive carefully.
They all want white, so
So,
it's all one.
I'll be,
I can't go
I'll be
to
gone at the
shit.
regular meeting.
It was fun.
On
Had a good time this morning?
I'm looking at February.
Oh, good.
I don't know what these people are gonna do with all these employees now. My gosh, we got more employees, you know. We can get so much work done now. Well, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome.
Congratulations. Okay, welcome aboard.
Hear good things about you, so I'm looking forward. And we don't test you all the time, huh? But I am on the planning and zoning. And the